but Nicole says to him, like, didn't I see you in the library yesterday during the photos? And he's like, no, me and my friends took them, like, after school, after practice. But I just thought that was interesting. I don't know if it was just them using him to be in that scene, because then later she's trying to say that she has a crush on a boy, like, to get out of the conversation, and she thinks she's talking about him, but she actually says the wrong name. So I don't know, like, that was the only point, was just of him being in it, was just to show, like, she was trying to reference, like, she's just trying to be like, oh, I guess I can say that he's my crush, like, to distract Olivia from what she was trying to talk to her about. So it could have just been as simple as that, but I did think it was, like, weird that she said something about, like, I think I saw you in the library, and then that almost made me think, like, are they trying to imply that, like, he and his friends might have been the ones that, like, threw the fake blood at Maddie? I mean, maybe I'm just reading too much into it, I don't know, because I feel like it's not probably that deep, especially just with everything else happening, but I don't know, I just thought that was weird, because I thought it was, like, random how they focused on this one guy that, like, we've never met before, but I don't know, I guess let me know what you think about that. So like I was saying, she's, like, talking to Livia and all her friends, and Livia kind of says at one point, like, you can see she's really trying to, like, bait Nicole into telling her stuff. She's like, I mean, you must be, like, one of the only ones who actually, like, knows what happened to Maddie, and, like, oh, and she's treating you so bad, like, that's terrible. But of course Nicole's just like, oh, I don't really know, like, that much, and she's, like, drunk too, so she's, like, doesn't know, like, what to do, and then that's when she says, like, she just tries to turn the conversation around and be like, oh, I have a huge crush on this boy, and she says Jason, who was actually who Claire said not to mention, because it's Livia's cousin's best friend's ex-boyfriend or something like that. She thought that was the name of the guy she was talking to before, but obviously it wasn't, so she has to kind of leave, because we assume Livia or whatever got kind of mad at her, so she kind of screwed up there. But it's kind of a good thing, because then she goes into Livia's mom, the superintendent's office, and she finds that Dr. Hunter Price has these plans to actually not just, like, you know, close the school, but to actually demolish the whole building and put condos there instead. And it's actually also with the same, like, real estate agent that is Claire's stepdad. And then she also finds that Dr. Hunter Price has these cameras on her laptop of the school, different rooms in Split River. Obviously, that is very interesting. And, you know, we still don't quite know what this means yet, with the cameras. I know some people have been saying, like, oh, the only rooms that are on the thing are, like, rooms where people died, but I looked back and I don't think that's the case. Like, it's a mix. There are some that people died in, but some that they didn't. So, I don't know. Like, obviously it kind of makes us feel like the Dr. Hunter Price knows something about what's happening with the school and the ghosts or whatever, but we don't really know yet. And obviously, as for the bulldozing thing, like, obviously that's a huge issue, because we don't know what would happen to the ghosts and to Simon if they didn't, you know, get them crossed over or out of that school or whatever before that happened. So, you know, it's just adding a lot of new complicated layers to this story. So, talking a little bit more about Dave, Maddie's dad. So obviously we find out from Xavier talking to him that Dave hasn't heard of a living person getting stuck in the afterlife like Simon. But then, you know, once again, we just see the really sweet scene of, like, first Xavier talks to him and is like, you know, why has it been so hard to find you? And he was like, I've just been, like, nervous, you know, like, nervous to talk to Maddie and everything, because I haven't seen her since she was 9, and I'm afraid I'll disappoint her and all this stuff. And then obviously we get to see him talking to her though, and it's just very pure and sweet, but also obviously very, like, bittersweet, because it's really sad that Maddie still can't actually see him, and, you know, he had to be taken away from her at such a young age. But yeah, once again, I just think it's really cool that we're seeing more of him, and that he is kind of like becoming more and more of a character in this show. And then this is just kind of like another random thing, is that obviously we find out in this episode that all of the living people have detention, Saturday detention, and are not going on their senior trip, which obviously we see in the next episode and everything, and it's a whole little Breakfast Club vibe. So now, as for my little review and thoughts overall of the episode, I would give this episode an 8 out of 10. I did really like it. I mean, I always like every School Spirits episode, but I just said very good, just not my favorite. Like, I did really like it. It just, I don't know. It just wasn't like one of the ones that I was like, oh my god, this is like one of my favorite episodes of all time. But yeah, and I said there were some very emotional moments, obviously. Made me cry once again. So some of the highlights I said, hearing more of Yuri's story, because obviously I just like learning more about him. Obviously Maddie and her dad, that was probably like the best scene. The whole Mr. South thing, because obviously I've been waiting to see him again, and obviously we see him more in the next one. And just knowing that he was able to see Wally, you know, it's crazy. Nicole finding the cameras, because obviously I feel like that was a big thing and is going to help us find out more about Dr. Hunter Price. Quinn forgiving Mr. Martin, once again, I thought that was like a very nice and like profound scene. Rhonda's scene from her past, I also thought, obviously, once again, was very beautiful. And of course the ending with Simon, you know, going down and seeing this creepy figure and it ending on such a creepy note. And then just ending with, once again, just talking about just a few little like editing and cinematography moments that I liked in this episode. I like how they do a lot of like weird angles sometimes, I think, to almost sometimes just give it a little bit of this like kind of unsettling feeling. So I liked, like, there was this one point when Wally was talking to Mr. Martin that there was like this really weird angle from like above. And I did think it was interesting though too, because I was almost wondering if it was kind of hinting at the whole cameras thing, like with Dr. Hunter Price, because it almost looks like it could be like a camera. And then I just liked like the way the scene was shot, like when Xavier was first like meeting Dave in the morgue, and when he like walks in and like he's kind of standing out as like a silhouette, but then because of like the lighting, like Dave is kind of more washed out, and like I just think it was really cool because it really like was kind of like a visual representation of the fact that Dave is a ghost and Xavier's living, you know, because like Dave looks very washed out and like white, and like you kind of can't see him completely, and I just thought it was like a cool, I feel like, way of showing like this kind of barrier there is between them. And then I also thought it was cool in the scene where Maddie's talking to Dave, there's another kind of like weird angle where it's coming from like, I don't even know, it's like through a window, like almost like on the other side of the room or something, and you can kind of see like all three of them, but you can actually see, you know, Dave and Maddie, even though Maddie can't see him. But I don't know, I just like thought it was a cool shot. Like, they actually look physically smaller in that shot. I just feel like them being like physically small almost kind of like gives this feeling of like Maddie's like a kid again, and like when she did last see him she was smaller and everything, and I feel like in that moment when she's talking to him she kind of feels younger again because she's talking to him. So that's it for this video. Once again, I'm gonna try to film and get up my video about episode 4 very quickly before the 5th episode comes out, and I have a lot to say about the 4th episode because I thought that was one of the best, and I can't wait for the 5th one coming out soon. So as usual, leave any thoughts and theories you have in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye!